Ready?
All set.
Cool. All right. Hello, my name is Charles Theofield. This is for my P858 HPAC class. I am interviewing my coach here, my varsity coach. Coach here has been coaching in Queens for about 4 years now. He's been coaching varsity golf and varsity baseball. I chose him because I feel like we have a very good relationship, we have a good bond, and I feel like he has a lot to be explaining about some of these certain issues, especially in baseball. I feel like a lot of these sportsmanship and gamesmanship issues come up. So, Coach, thank you very much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, to get right into this, to let you know what we are doing, this is going to be a sportsmanship versus gamesmanship discussion.
Okay.
It's going to be a few questions, some general, some a little bit more personal, like on the personal side and in your experience. I want you to let on as much as you feel. I'm also going to remind you too, I know we talked about this earlier, this is all based on no bias, okay? This is all, these answers I want you to feel comfortable and confident talking to me. We're just kind of polling our interviewees to see what's been going on based on these sportsmanship.
Sweet, sounds good. Thank you.
Thanks, Coach. All right, without further ado, we will get right into it. So question number one I have for you, Coach. Is sportsmanship an important part of your philosophy and why?
I would say yes, just because 99% of the students that will have, the athletes that we have, are not going to be doing this for these specific sports for the rest of their lives. Whether, I hope as many as my golfers do, but for baseball and these other activities, they are not always going to be on the field. And teaching those aspects of life outside of the sport, the whatever physical activity is, in my opinion, is more important than winning a championship. It's more important the person that they leave that team with, the bonds they make. That to me is more important. So long-winded way of saying that sportsmanship is definitely very important in my coaching philosophy because it's where our students are going to be going and where they're going to be leading the most with.
Yeah.
Most important.
So what I'm getting from that, Coach, is that you're saying like you really like to coach more of the player themselves rather than be coaching the sport to the player.
Yes, because they get intertwined and they, in all reality, I don't care as much about the athlete they become.
Mm-hmm.
I care a lot more about the person they become.
I love that.
That is more important because not everyone is going to be an athlete their entire life.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's going to be living their entire life. So that is much more important to me than those athletics.
Exactly, I like that. So yeah, in regards to that sportsmanship, I really enjoy that you're kind of bringing in like that real life aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah.
All right, moving right along. Question number two. What was one event regarding good sportsmanship that sticks out the most from your experiences in coaching?
And my head goes to baseball here again.
Mm-hmm.
Something that is often tough is umpires, the relationship between the players, coaches, and umpires.
Yes.
And what I find that it's tough on the players to realize that they made a mistake. So sometimes we would see some of those negative reactions to whether an umpire made a correct call or did not. Some of those negative reactions, and what I take a lot of pride in is if that is something that's happening in the beginning of the year, by the end of the year, it's not happening.
Mm-hmm.
So one specific example, I had one player that was in a big situation, and this was later in the season, it wasn't playoffs yet, but later in the season, and there was a called third strike. I don't know if it was a strike, he doesn't know it was a strike, he didn't think it was, most people didn't think it was. And and he had that quick and it kind of just was like, went to the dugout and kind of stopped himself. So maybe this isn't like a perfect example of sportsmanship, but I could see the growth in that player from the beginning of the season to the end of the season, seeing how he reacted to the situation beginning towards the end, and that means a lot to me for that specific player.
So speaking about from the beginning to the end, this kind of works me into my next question. Have you had any issues, I guess I'll say, have you had any issues with the players where they're being reprimanded for unsportsmanlike conduct? Do you find that more in the beginning of the season, if you want to explain that?
Typically find that more in the beginning of the season because it's something that their outside baseball teams, whatever teams they have different cultures.
Yes.
And that a lot of times that culture can be brought into different teams, and it's important to get that culture in the right direction. And so there are times in the beginning, I know one time specifically it was pretty bad. We had an umpire had to go to our bench and say, hey, you guys need to stop. This is too much. And I don't know what was said because I was I was at first base.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
whatever was said was over the line.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing for the umpire too.
I mean, yeah, maybe regardless
And
of what it was,
that was an uncomfortable. It was tough. I don't know. The umpires are out there doing their best, and it's tough to see a high school student go after an adult trying to do their job.
Yeah. So in regards to that, again, this segues me to my next question, question number 4. How have you dealt with these unsportsmanlike issues? Is there consequences? Is there penalties? Do you find you're punishing, one person? Are you punishing the team? Is it playtime based? Is it practice based? Like, where would you take your consequences?
I believe that if there's consequences, it should be taken care of in-house or with the team or at practice. I don't think it's ever right for a coach to, for lack of better words, be flipping out or making these crazy assumptions after a game when you're emotional, especially when there might be parents there.
Of course.
And everyone's at a heightened sense. Mm-hmm. It's best to and that's usually something that will take either whether it's a weekend or take the school day the next day to kind of settle, give ourselves those 24 hours to clear our brain, and then we can go into it the next day. And I used to have a one-on-one conversation with the person that that happened with. Mm-hmm. And it's really tough for me to say what exactly I would do, because a lot of times it's different based on the student.
Yeah, it's different based on the student. I would say it's also different based on, maybe the severity of the unsportsmanlike issue. There's a difference between, screaming at an umpire and cursing out an umpire, and then, maybe just, you by accidentally you kick dirt at one of the kids on first base or something like that, or it looks like you did that. So I understand it is situational. Okay, but I understand. So I appreciate understanding that, because as a coach, I also like to, I focus on that one player. Mm-hmm. I don't love to make the unsportsmanlike issues a total team thing. Mm-hmm. If it's not the entire team, if I see that it is a localized two or three person that they're bringing a separate culture into my team, mm-hmm. I can deal with it individually. I find that definitely when we have more students or more players from maybe the same culture, or they're from the same team on the outside, mm-hmm. they bring that in, then it turns into a whole team type of consequence. Exactly. I enjoy that it's up to only the one person. So moving right along, Coach, I want to ask you, are you familiar with the term gamesmanship?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes.
So moving right along, have you ever utilized gamesmanship as a part of your coaching strategy? And if so, could you give me an example?
So, gamesmanship is very tough for me, because I feel like it's a very large gray area. Mm-hmm.
Forgive me for cutting you off. I feel like baseball is it leaves a very large area of that gray area for you to play inside of.
Yes, exactly, and that's why I think it's more like and it's impossible. This is why it's such a great conversation to have, is because I think there's times where, if you're abiding by the rules but still gaining an advantage, you're kind of playing by those set rules. Mm-hmm. I think there's a line when gamesmanship turns into cheating, but I'm not. So, for example, one of the plays that we've used over the years is a first base pickoff play. So first pickoff is a quick pickoff. The quickest move they got, mm-hmm. they throw to the first baseman. First baseman gets the tag down as quickly as they can. The idea to get them, I gotta get back to this bag.
Move it quickly.
Gotta get back to this bag. Second time, instead of a quick move, the pitcher will step off and throw over to first, or they'll pretend to throw over to first because they're allowed to. They clear the rubber, and the first baseman will pretend that they threw the ball away. Second baseman will yell, point, mm-hmm. and then our hope is that they'll come off the bag. Their first base coach isn't paying attention, whatever it may be, and we can get a quick out.
Okay.
Do I think that's cheating? No. Do I think it's gamesmanship? Absolutely. And I'm not sure whether that has a place in our game. Mm-hmm. To be fair, it's something that was used against us. So we got it. What are we doing here? That's a good idea,
It turns into a sportsmanship idea in a gamesmanship way. Mm-hmm. Is, once it happens to you and there's nothing done about it, it turns into that. Oh, okay. Well, then maybe we should pick this up and start utilizing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I enjoy that example, and it is very tough. I mean, especially with as a varsity coach, you're dealing with more of those. For lack of a better term, I would say top tier athletes in your school. So a lot of them are very game smart. A lot of them are very able to be playing. I feel like at that level, maybe that it's not a hidden ball trick, but maybe that trick of the pickoff trick move. I feel like maybe at that varsity level is going to be a little bit more accepted, because all the players are at that game level, that game sense
the
level.
understanding of that game.
I feel like if you come back down to the coaching level that I'm at the middle school level, I feel like that you're still teaching the game. So I feel like you might have some kids who are more advanced, and you might be doing, if you do it against a kid who's not very advanced, that's where it turns into taking advantage.
I 100%. I think that might be the lines when you're taking advantage of inexperienced athletes, or if you're, I think that's if you know that they don't know this because they are young and they're not experienced, they're on JV, whatever.
Yeah.
I think that is a little bit more malicious, but when it's a varsity sport and you're there trying to win a championship, you need to take the advantage, and if you don't know the rules by that point, you gotta know.
You gotta be getting in.
You know.
So I feel like we've answered it a little bit. We've answered question number 7 right here. Is that you consider gamesmanship taking advantage of the rules or cheating? I feel like you just answered it. It's only when it really is. It only really is when it's you're at that game learning level.
Yes.
And once you take that step to the next level, that higher up, that's when it kind of becomes fair game. Most of that stuff.
Yes.
Fair game. All right. So I'm moving right along. Again, number 8. So do you utilize a positive strategy regarding diversity on your teams? So talking about, their religion, race, gender, do you use positive strategies regarding diversity?
We really don't talk much about race, religion, and we definitely talk in here about each other's backgrounds, but it's not like, I wouldn't say that's the main topic of discussion. We usually try to find, unifying things, and but specifically race and religion, gender, we don't really use much. I haven't had. Not that I haven't had.
That was my next question. Was going to be: have you had any issues with that?
I haven't had any issues with it.
Okay.
But I don't think it's fair for me to say I don't have a need for that, because I think everybody would have a need for that. But I haven't had a proactive approach to it. And thankfully, it's not something that I've had to address with any of my teams.
Okay, so now my last question in regards to this diversity: do you address it during, obviously you are addressing diversity as you just said. You're talking about each other's backgrounds and accepting and everything like that. Do you find when you do this during preseason that might open up a gate to more acceptance throughout the season if you do it that early on?
I think it definitely does. It definitely can't hurt, I don't think. Okay. I think it definitely helps, and it's a cool way. I always like to stress to also my students that everybody's good at one specific, good at different things, and it truly is us all coming together and figuring out what we're best at and helping each other out. And diversity is one of those ways that could be the way, whether it's I'm getting nervous.
No, it's okay.
But just whether it's trying to explain a different way on how to do something, a different technique. And we said earlier about outside teams, maybe another outside team has a different way they like to do something, whatever drill it may be. It's always good to learn new things and to look for the best. Find those different ways that people do things and take the best from each one of them.
Exactly. So almost connecting it back to the beginning and that understanding of, everybody, like you said, everybody has the certain things that they're good at. Everybody has certain things that they bring from maybe their background and their culture. We just have to be accepting to everybody. Just because Johnny doesn't know, maybe in baseball, for the baseball example, just because Johnny doesn't know maybe how to swing the bat correctly to get a hit every time, that doesn't mean we're not going to accept him onto our team.
No, he's a great base runner. He can teach my base runners.
Exactly. He has that other skill. Exactly that. If he brings in a diverse thing, and it might throw off some other players, but if we show that acceptance, we show that that acceptance to who they are, that those players are going to accept them. That's going to make the team even that much better.
Absolutely.
Well, again, Coach, I want to thank you again for this participation in our project. All the questions again, I want to remind you, you're in confidence. I really appreciate you giving me your honest answers, and thank you again.
Thank you.